There's a whole empty left lane here. You can see it in the rear. That guy's coming. Get the hell out the way. I don't cuss real often, but like in my head, all I'm hearing is Ludacris's song from when I was in high school. Move, bitch. Get out the way.
Get out the way. Get out the way.
You're listening to the Ground Transportation Podcast with Ken Lucci of Driving Transactions and James Blain of PAX Training. Learn how you can build a thriving transportation business with real profits, repeat clients, and enterprise value. And now for your hosts, Ken and James.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another exciting episode of the Ground Transportation Podcast. Now, you know me, James Blain from PAX Training. You know my wonderful co-host, Ken Lucci of Driving Transactions, right? But if you missed the last time we had him on, you might not know John. John is our wizard behind the scenes. He is the producer. He is back by popular demand. So kind of like Top Gear of old, you have those challenges the producer gives you and you film them. If you don't know about cars, you won't get that reference. Don't worry, you'll figure it out later. But here's the fun thing. So we are once again handing the reins over to John. So John is going to be our main pilot on this episode. Ken and I are along for the ride. And John, what are we talking about today? I think it's autonomous vehicles, right?
Unaccustomed I am to talking about autonomous vehicles.
Yeah, it's a new topic.
The way that this is going to work, guys, is I'm going to play a couple videos that are going to be around a certain theme, and then we're going to have a conversation around that. So
do we have to determine the theme, or will you be giving us the theme?
I will be giving you the theme.
Okay.
I love
It'd
that.
be much more fun if we had to figure it out on our own. See if we even got remotely close to it, right?
It's Friday. I'm not that creative. Oh, here we go.
Yeah,
I like this. I like where this is going.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, jeez. Elon at the gate, out the hole. Let's
Elon
go.
out of the gate. So this one is a Tesla fully autonomous driving mode
Oh, no.
in the snow. Let's check it out. Seems to have taken that turn pretty well.
I'm watching that hand. I want to. Oh, there it is.
Oh, there you go. There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
What? It wasn't. Wait a minute. Just for those people who are not who are not looking at this, we're looking at a Tesla that was going straight down the road in a snowstorm, but then magically it started going off to the left-hand side on its own, and
it did the turn
That's
fine.
crazy.
Like it turned onto the road fine, but you saw the road and you're like, ugh.
what do you think happened there?
I mean, so a couple things. So one, Teslas are heavy, right? They weigh a ton. So my concern,
because of the battery.
yeah, you've got kind of that skateboard. You got a big battery pack underneath. So I got to tell you, I mean, just me, I'd be a little nervous driving a Tesla in the snow anyway. But I think what happened is it lost a little bit of traction and it starts sliding sideways. And
Yep.
I got to tell you, if you were watching the wheel, like John, I don't know if you can turn the audio off and pull it back a little bit. Like if you're watching the wheel coming out of the turn, it's a little twitchy. Like I was watching because this guy's got his hand on his thigh here, trying to like, I'm not gonna touch the wheel. And it looks a little twitchy when he's doing that. I got to tell you, at least in my opinion, I think it was already struggling. I think this was just asking for trouble.
So let's back up a step. I mean, heretofore, Waymos have been in Phoenix.
Yeah.
Besides dust storms, really easy. Dust
Habooms.
storms, they're really easy from a weather perspective. It's been in San Francisco, besides the fog in the window a little bit. It's been in LA,
Which is not by accident, right? They're
Right.
clearly choosing places that don't have
right.
weather.
And the latest is Austin, Texas. So do you think that this is what we're going to come to, that when these autonomous vehicles are in a snowy weather condition, they're just not going to be on the road, or what?
So, all right. So let's get a couple things out of the gate, because the first is humans learn in a linear fashion. I'm a little bit smarter tomorrow than I was today. I'm a little bit smarter the next day. I'm a little bit smarter the next day.
I don't think that's true, because I don't think I'm any smarter now that at 60 than I was at 16.
By the way, we go downhill a lot more like AI goes up, right?
There you go. There you go. Yep. I think I peaked when I was 40, so it's all
there. You go.
Yep,
Yeah. Some of us peaked in high school and college.
So tell us what you mean by that. So humans are linear. We learn from our experiences.
Right. We are linear in the way that we progress and the way that we learn. And the other part of that is our expectations of AI and technology are generally linear. We expect them to be a little bit better than they were. The problem is with technology, and we've talked about this in the past, with Moore's law, 1, 2, 3 isn't how you count with AI. When you're thinking of computers, it goes 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 512, 1024, and then from there, it starts just absolutely hockey sticking. The same thing is happening with the advancement of AI and self-driving. They've been doing this stuff all the way back to the 90s when NASA had their project.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So are you saying that the more and more that
it's going to get better fast.
It's going to get better. So, all right, so I'm going to play devil's advocate. Why didn't they start the damn things in Anchorage, Alaska to prove your point?
It's the same reason.
Doesn't it snow up there 340 days a year?
So on behalf of my friends Charlie and Athena, I'm going to say it's beautiful in the spring. Come visit, right? Go to Anchorage. It's incredible. You don't start by having a kid dead sprint, because at the end of the day, they are human engineers that are trying to do this. And as people, we can't just start with an infinite amount of money, an infinite amount of research, an infinite amount of everything. And the other thing is, believe it or not, they have already, the Finns and the Swedes are already driving these things on frozen lakes.
Oh, very good point.
The thing to keep in mind is we can't beta test it with people on frozen lakes. So what we're seeing with these rollouts in these highly controlled environments is you are seeing the public face of it. Hey, we're ready for you to test this. We're ready for you to drive this. Versus, going to Finland, going to Sweden, going to, the northern parts of Russia to test them.
Well, wait a minute. To follow your logic, then, they had to do Phoenix, San Francisco, LA to get the other parts of topography down.
Correct.
Driving on real world stuff. And now they're going to progress and they're going to go into heavy rain areas. Oh,
correct.
wait till these things get down into Miami and they get into a deluge at 3:00 in the afternoon. There's going to be 150 of these Teslas parked on the highway underneath the bridge, waiting for the rain to stop.
I mean, we all know about the parking lot incident, right?
So I was like, where's that coming from? I looked down and I was like, I think it's coming from the Waymo cars.
Yeah, kind of bizarre, right? Neighbors in San Francisco dealing with some sleepless nights as they say driverless cars in a parking lot nearby are confused. They start honking at each other. Maybe they're just talking. In a statement, Waymo says it's heard complaints. They're working on a fix. That is your rush.
So, I mean, these things are going to happen, but would we rather that happen, like, I don't know, in the middle of New York in the winter, or do you want that to happen, in Arizona in the middle of spring where, if there's rain or anything, it just pulls over and stops?
Well, and to your point, you had said on an episode a while ago that the Tesla is constantly learning. So that episode that it had that close call now will be used for it will have learned that, and it will be taking that into account in the future.
Yeah, ideally. Now, I will also preface with, not every incident gets looked at. Not every incident gets reported. And if the Tesla doesn't know it's screwed up, it might not be in a training set. So keep in mind, a lot of this it's kind of like software. If you're using software and you're having problems and you just get frustrated and don't tell anybody,
you got to report it in. Yeah.
Bingo.
All right, let's go to the next one.
Oh, it's Tesla again. John's really beating on Elon today.
Yeah, we're going to beat on Elon a little bit.
Are we going to get a cease and desist order from him?
By the way, Elon, if you want to be a guest and explain this, we would love to have you on.
You know what?
Open invitation.
You to us are like the mad scientist. Like I like to give Elon crap, but for God's sake, he was like, I want a rocket. I'm going to build a rocket. So we'd love to have him as a guest. Like,
and you go on Joe
kind of mad scientist.
You go on Joe Rogan. I mean, are we not as good as Joe Rogan? Is that what you're saying, Elon?
Are you saying that we got to smoke pot if Elon comes on? Because if that's what it takes to get Elon on, We will film an episode in Denver or California if we have to.
Well, that's all you. That's all on you.
Now that said, I cannot partake because I have a CDL and I'm not willing to give that up. But
okay. John will smoke with Elon then. All right, go ahead.
We're going to get John high with Elon.
Elon and I
Let's
can
go.
hook up together. All right,
Let's go on Tesla.
So I think I want to switch things up, and I want to preface this video with the big question that, James, I think let's watch this video, and I'd love for you to react and answer. So, James, how do you train someone, a driver, an AV attendant, if you will, to stay alert when their main job is to watch a machine that rarely makes mistakes until it does?
He's giving me an impossible question, and now he wants me to watch a video. This is going to be great, guys. Digging the techno music. We've got the rainbow just driving down the highway. Oh, snap! Oh, we got it.
Did it hit me or what?
I love that. All right, so we've got the Tesla driving down the highway. That looks like a Toyota. I don't know if that's a BRZ or what it is. It looks like a white Toyota crossover in the left-hand lane. We're in the far right lane, and it looks like it's coming over. This guy's in full self-driving. You got the little rainbow road out in front of it. You can hear the techno music running in the background. This guy clearly does not have his hands on the wheels. I think he's holding the phone. I think that's why it takes him a second to get his hand back on the wheel. Play it again real quick, because this one went really fast. I want to make sure I have it before I... All right, so... Oh! Okay, all right.
Oh my God! Did it hit me or what?
Describe it again. Now, that's driving down the road, and then you see this white SUV veering over into the lane in front of the Tesla. Why didn't the Tesla see it, James?
So two things. This looks like almost a self-inflicted pit maneuver on behalf of the guy coming over, right? So probably the front left kind of fender area is probably right at the rear tires at the door. And the other thing is this guy's use of a turn signal is kind of like, I don't know if you guys have seen the meme where it's like, I've got to cross the left lane. I've got to cross 8 lanes. I'm going to turn the turn signal on. Good luck, everybody. And they just kind of like YOLO it over. I feel like the Toyota put the turn signal on and then was like, all right, turn signal's on. Wham. Two things. I think one, the thing that we forget is that even though this thing can see ahead, it's not going to process intention the way we do. So one of the cool things, and I believe he was actually a KU professor. So a professor came out to Orlando, and I'm on the executive committee for the Bus Industry Safety Council. And one of the sessions that we did in Orlando that I absolutely loved was they had a professor come talk about at a collegiate level, like basically distracted driving. And one of the things he did is he put up a picture and he's like, here's a highway. And he goes, all right, I'm going to have you guys look at it for a second. Did you look at it for a second? He goes, I'm going to put up the next picture and I want you to look at it and I want you to tell me what's wrong. And he puts up the next picture and it's basically like find the differences. Nobody in the freaking room got it. Why? Because we're trained to look at the road. We're looking at the cars. We're looking at the signs. We're looking at the highway. We're looking at everything we know that is important. Then he goes, all right, I'm going to circle it. It was like a building off to the side of the highway. Why? Nobody cares. It doesn't matter to us. The building's not going to cause the accident. So I think what we're seeing here is it does not see the intention. But the other thing is, if you've ever ridden in a Tesla, you will see that there's a little bit of reaction time. The Tesla isn't as quick. I saw the same thing with the Zook. If you go watch the Zook video, when I'm in Vegas and I'm riding around to the Zook, you'll see the exact same thing. It's got like 40 or 50 different options. And it's not like us where it goes, oh crap, and it commits, right? A lot of times it's having to make decisions. And it did react, but it didn't react fast enough. It didn't catch the intention. And frankly, it's not going to have the same level of anticipation that we do for years, because it's going to have to get to the point where processing is going to have to get faster and anticipation and training data has got to get better.
Wow. So what you're saying to me is every real life scenario that takes place has to be entered into its database or its memory bank. It needs to look at how it reacted and then adjust itself accordingly. It's got to repeat that.
Basically. So in our world, I coach hockey with my son. So I think of it as, with my son, I can have him shoot from the middle of the ice, and then I can have him shoot from, the blue line, and then I can have him come up a little closer, and he's going to be okay shooting in between. The same thing happens with this, except the problem is, unlike a kid that can kind of infer it and turn him loose, you've got to have these massive sets of data for it to go through and get through and figure out. And the other thing is, humans do really good in completely one-off ridiculous situations, right? If I throw you into a weird, ridiculous situation, we do really well at improvisation. That's one of our gifts. If you've ever seen me give a talk, it's improvisation, right?
So, some of us do.
But it depends, because even if you suck at improvisation, if I put you in a life or death situation, your
it's fight or
adrenaline,
flight,
your everything,
right?
you're
Sure.
going to react. And
Sure.
Sometimes we screw it up, but the reason that we've done so great as a species is we tend to get it right. The problem with the AI is the AI has no adrenaline. It has no fight or flight. It's just processing. And so
Interesting.
it's one of the interesting quirks that you see in these scenarios. Now, the other side is to actually answer John's frankly crappy question, because I can't answer it. Right?
Whoa! Don't
How do
blame
you-
John
how-
because you can't answer the question.
I'm asking about the role of
all right.
training
All right.
and how
So-
it's evolving.
So here's the role of training. The role of training is that the safety driver's time is limited. The whole point of having self-driving is not to need the safety driver. And the idea that we're going to have someone that sits there just staring at the road, waiting for his moment to do something, frankly, it makes no sense, because that defeats the whole purpose. That's like saying, hey, I'm gonna find the ability to fly, but I'm only ever gonna fly 2 feet off the ground, so that if something happens, I can jump out of the plane. Like, it only makes sense in this teeter-totter phase.
I disagree.
Yeah, I
Here,
disagree. Okay, wait a
I've
minute.
started a great debate. Let's go, boys.
No,
Let's go.
So one of the things that occurred at the Chauffeur Driven NLA show is I had a great dinner with the guys from Wendell Marks, and while Matt Doss was not there, Pat Russo
Right.
was there, and we had a very spirited discussion about Waymos in New York. And the thought process of New York to me was, and reading all of the analyst reports and reading through the Waymo announcements and the ZooX announcements, is that those vehicles are going to be in New York within 3 years.
Yeah.
They had
And
a
they're
different-
required to have a safety driver.
but they had a different take. And their take was because there's going to be some serious blowback on labor, where the New York as a city is worried about displacing so many drivers. And I thought there was validity to that is going to extend it. Now, let's not debate that.
Well, there's no
But wait a
debate
minute.
there. You're absolutely right.
Okay, but what if the plan in New York City was, look, we know you want to launch these AVs, but I think we'll all agree that New York City is extraordinarily challenging. Why
is.
don't we go into a period of 5 years where you have to have a body in there so that we can make sure that we have that human reaction to to that darting out the way you just saw it. I mean, that to me seems to be the best of both worlds, because at that point, the vehicle could learn from what the human being does. Now, I know that if Elon was on here, God willing, we would love to have him on, but he would give me the 15 scientific reasons why that makes no sense. But what we just saw on
No,
that
you got to
Tesla-
split the middle, Ken. You got to split the middle. It makes sense. All right. So here's the thing. So I at IATR, not this year, but the year before, one of the things that got brought up is the
Tell the
problem-
audience who IATR is.
So that's the International Association of Transportation Regulators. That's when all the regulators that regulate transportation come together. And the whole focus that year was on autonomous vehicles and electric vehicles. And everybody was super excited. This is going to be awesome. And New York, the one of the representatives from New York was like, oh God. And everybody's like, what's wrong, New York? Like, it's almost like those cartoon memes you see, like, all right, New York, what's wrong? Well, we've got all of these drivers, and their pension and their retirement relies on, and I'm not going to call it a Ponzi scheme. It's not a Ponzi scheme. It's a retirement fund. but it relies on new people coming in behind and paying into it. So you have to have new drivers paying into the retirement fund to
Is it
keep
the
it
Black Car
going
Fund?
for
Is
the
that the
drivers.
Black
No,
Car-
no, no. The Black
no, that's
Car
something
Fund is something different.
Okay.
But anyways, the concern there was at the point where we stop having new drivers come in and we displace all of these workers immediately, what happens? Now, a couple things to note here. One, safety drivers make sense in the beginning. To not give John crap and give you a direct answer, the way that you get them to do the job effectively is you don't let them take their phone, you don't let them have distractions, and you make the only form of entertainment or input or anything they have actually driving the vehicle. To the point where if you really wanted an effective safety driver, you would literally put a black partition and lock him in the driver's seat. And his only option for any form of input or stimulus is to watch the damn road.
And would you agree? Would you agree that that would train the AV?
Yes and no. The job of the, all right. So if we're looking to train the AV, we don't actually use an AV. If I want to train an AV, I think about it for a second.
Where's he going, John?
The AV doesn't learn the same way we do. If you're looking
what rabbit
purely,
hole is he going down?
if you're looking purely to train an AV, what you do is you have the AV vehicle and you put it in manual mode and you let the driver drive it. And then afterwards, you have that driving graded by someone else and you tell the AV, this is what the driver did great. We want you to do this. This is what the driver did wrong. We don't want you to do this. To the point that Uber is already doing that. So Uber recently announced that they are looking at employing drivers to train the AV to basically do that. Because here's the thing. If you're trying to do that as a safety driver, the only thing you can do as a safety driver is either intervene when it screws up or tell it what it got wrong, which a true function of a safety driver, that's why I said you almost have to put them in a completely partitioned box, because I don't want them distracted by the radio. I don't want them distracted by the phone. I don't want them distracted by the passenger. Your job is you are the oh God, right? When it's an oh God moment, you should take over and be there. So,
but that's just one job. And I think that was kind of my point is you're going down like safety driver.
That's the safety driver.
But if we're looking at this through a black car operator's lens, right? It's much more than just a driver.
But those are two different jobs.
Well, right, and I guess maybe that was my mistake in not clarifying that. But that was kind of where I was
talking computers. It's 1 or 0. You don't get to try again.
No, it wasn't a question just because he couldn't answer it. But I like where he.
I said it was a question, and then I answered it anyway.
You know, when you come off the road, you're sassy. Okay, you're sassy. John and I have been doing this without you.
This is why I don't do it while I'm on the road. Y'all wouldn't be able to handle me when I'm traveling.
We've been doing this alone for the past 30 days while you've been out there screwing around at all these association meetings.
By the way, I want all the associations to know that our sponsorships and ad dollars are considered to be screwing around by now. I'm just kidding.
So no, what you just hit upon probably,
you can't do both effectively. That's what it comes down to. You just can't do both effectively.
My realization, because you know how I've been with AVs, and because I've looked at the 6 cities in China that have 30,000 of these beasts on the road already.
Yep.
You know what Pat and I forget the other gentleman's name from Wendell's Marks pointed out to me is that China's entire business climate and relationship to government is completely different than ours. Completely different than ours. So when he said to me, by the way,
we're not saying anything bad about China, please.
No, not at all. No, we don't want any cease and desist coming from them either.
Oh, it would be nice.
The gentleman from Wendell's Marks also used to manage the New York City and their entire fleet for many years. So what he said to me was the human element of it, which is New York City will give massive pushback about all of these drivers losing their jobs. So what you're just saying to me seems to me to be a good solution. Wait a minute, you mandate that the drivers have to drive these AV units.
Yeah. So all right. So a couple things. So one of one of my favorite Elon quotes, right? And we give Elon a bunch of crap because he's basically a mad scientist. But one of my favorite Elon quotes is that the fundamental characteristic and mistake of an engineer is optimizing a thing that shouldn't exist. Okay. And the thing that people have to understand is a safety driver is a step to get where we're going. So if you want to look at a industry that's done this, in the airline industry, we used to have that when you would cross the Atlantic, you had 4-engine planes, you had a flight mechanic or flight engineer, you had a first in command and a second in command. Over time, what's happened? We've gone down, we got rid. Now we're happy with 2 engines, not 4. Now we're happy with 2 pilots, not 1. The Airline Pilots Association is now going through a huge push to try and keep 2 pilots in the cockpit because Boeing, all these others have come back and said, guys, we can push a button and the freaking thing flies itself. What do we need 2 guys in here we're paying for? We have an airline shortage. And they're trying to go down to 1 pilot.
No, we need to. We need to.
Now this is where it gets interesting because it depends. So you look at your Cessnas, you look at all your small private, your small individual aircraft, you got a bunch of guys flying by themselves.
Yeah,
right?
but they're in charge of themselves. They're not in charge of 300 souls.
Okay.
That's the issue I have.
So
and are we really going to take Boeing's word for it? For Christ's sake, they're building planes that fall out of the sky just because of some computer says it should go up and the damn thing goes down. Do we want to talk about the 737 MAX?
James Blain, Norpex Training, endorse any of the remarks made by Ken. No, I'm just kidding. So here's the deal. So interestingly enough, I think we're at a point where the fundamental idea of autonomous driving is that you don't need a driver. The problem that you have is what I talked about a second ago. We as humans trust really fast. If it works for the first 10 minutes, we think it's going to work for the next 10 minutes. And so the problem is you've got all these people blindly trusting in it that don't understand it. I always go back to when, quote unquote, Autopilot came out for RVs. It was cruise control because it was called Autopilot. People would literally go to the back of the RV and wonder why all of a sudden they come out of the bathroom in a cornfield.
Try to make a sandwich.
Yeah. So to wrap this up in a nice little bow, the one thing that I would say is that we need to only have safety drivers until the data proves that the safety driver isn't needed. Having a safety driver for the sake of a pension or to have someone have a job or just to pay them to be there, in my mind, it makes more sense to try and find a better role, better thing that person could be doing that we know AI or technology can't do, rather than having safety drivers longer than we need to just because we have a pension fund. We have to find more effective uses. And not only that, like, think of coming home from work. How was your day, honey? I stared at a freaking robot driving the car like I do every day while I scrolled through Twitter on the side, trying to do it in a way that the camera wouldn't notice and tell me that I'm scrolling through Twitter. That's a meaningless existence.
But to your point, in New York, New York City is going to push towards, no, we don't want this evolution in technology because it's going to displace 13,000 taxi drivers potentially, and another, I don't know how many Ubers there are out there. Let's just say another 15,000. Yeah. When what you're saying is come up with a plan where you have a period of time where all of the data is being collected, and at the same time come up with a plan to retrain the workforce.
Yeah, you have to build a bridge to transition, right? I'm going to use the most cliche quote ever, but when one door closes, another door opens, right? Fighting progress is dumb. Okay.
I also don't think you can. I just don't think you can.
But the other piece of that is that, a lot of it is we get caught on these problems and we get this analysis house. Oh my God, there's 80,000 drivers. There's 1 million drivers. There's 10 million drivers, or whatever number it is. We can't solve, so we can't do this. Why are we we found something that might be better done by technology. We know it eventually will be done by better technology. How do we find meaningful work for these people that they can do effectively and do a job that only people can?
I've already got the answer to that, and to train all these guys to have CDLP licenses and CDL licenses, because there's 85,000 school bus jobs open. There's 275,000 truck driving positions. So if you like to drive, we're going to train you on a CDL. Or if
The
you're
only problem is
mechanically,
they're coming for that next.
no,
I
but
would
that'll
I
be-
would
wait a
say
minute,
get them
but
out of
that'll
driving.
be next. But that
Yeah.
will be next. But you still, I refuse to believe in my lifetime you're going to have a 56 passenger vehicle with no driver in it. I might be wrong.
I
but,
think you're
but
wrong.
But to your point, then give
Well,
everybody.
I don't know how much longer you got left, Ken.
I don't know, maybe 5 years. I don't know, probably
50-50.
I mean, good ones 5. I've only got 5 good ones left of me. Anyway,
Because I think we're 10. I think in 20 years, right? And
20.
Ken, if you're not around for that, I'm going to your grave and bitching every day, right? I need you.
Let me
around,
tell you
buddy.
something. If I'm on this friggin' podcast 20 years from now, we're going to both have a problem. Anyway,
We
No,
better
but
we better be at Joe Rogan level, right?
no, to your point, I think what the point you're making is instead of fight in New York, and that was a perspective I hadn't heard before. Instead of fighting progress, why don't you interview Uber, Waymo, Zoox? Collectively, you need to interview all these people and come up with a consensus of how they're going to be trained to go someplace else. And guess what? You guys are mega rich. You guys are going to have to pay for this.
Yeah. And hey,
Okay.
guess what? If you have to, and I'm not saying to do this, Uber, don't sue me, right? But maybe you go in and you say, hey, if you're going to, for example, in the state of Massachusetts, every single rideshare ride, they have to pay 10 cents and it goes into a fund that's supposed to be there to help people. It makes total sense for me if they said, hey, as this goes down, if you want to operate autonomous vehicles in the state of New York, X out of every ride has to go to the pension that helps transition all of the existing drivers out and take care of all the ones. And as those people shrink, we'll start scaling that back. We all know that'll never happen. It'll go to building something else. But there are plenty of ways to do that that allow progress to continue while still creating a soft landing for the affected industries or displaced individuals. And
Correct.
it's just a matter of figuring it out.
And before this is the last comment, and then John, we're going to get to this video. Is I've heard from an extraordinarily reliable source that Google had a meeting with the Waymo team, and Google flat out said, "We don't give a shit what it costs. Just keep going much faster. Go as much faster
They
as you
got the
possibly
money.
can. They've got the money, and
they're winning the race.
And this retraining of drivers to me is something that they could do that would grease the skids across the board and move us forward into autonomy. But I don't see that happening on the robotics or AI side, but let's not go down that road. But anyway, I think that that's a solution to what they should be doing in New York. If New York comes back and says, slow down, what are you going to do with these drivers? You hit the nail on the head. They're going to have to fund it. All right.
Yeah.
So let's go. What's Tesla Autopilot takes control to avoid 2 accidents. Okay.
All right, let's see.
How about that headline? All right, yeah. So this next series of videos will be have a little bit of a different focus. So the first batch was around humans that were taking over and correcting the autonomous vehicles. This next couple videos is actually the opposite. This is when autonomous takes over.
The digital nanny.
The digital nanny, exactly. So I'll pose this question before we get into the videos.
It better be Ken's question.
Yeah, maybe Ken, we can start with you. Do you think that AVs can actually drive down fleet insurance costs?
Well,
All
the
right.
first question I
So-
have is, John, did you put that music in?
Yeah,
Well,
like
that was not my selection of music. I would have picked something much different.
Okay. So let me give a narration for those
oh
of
boy,
us-
was buzzing.
for those people in the studio audience that are not in front of YouTube. What happened was the Tesla was in the middle, and on the right-hand side, there was a pickup truck with something on the back of it, and it swerved into the Tesla's lane. And so the Tesla, that vehicle swerved in front of the Tesla going left. So the Tesla went further left over to the other lane, but there was a car there. So that vehicle got in the way. So the Tesla kind of did 2 maneuvers to get out of the way. Okay.
Yeah, this all could have been avoided by hitting the brakes. By the way, as the safety guy, like if he wouldn't have been hauling, absolutely flying down the center lane and just hit the brakes, he wouldn't have had to overcorrect. Because I will tell you, Ken, where I thought that went, and the reason I gave that reaction is I totally thought it was going to spin out. Because that thing was just flopping around like a fish.
One thing I did leave out is the Tesla, whoever was in that Tesla, it got a little bit of a jarring ride because it did overcorrect a couple times. Okay. So the question you asked is, tee up that question again.
Yeah, so the big question is, with autonomous vehicles and presumably with the right level of training and inputs, they would grow to the point where they would be able to prevent more accidents in theory. Mm-hmm. So therefore, would that be a viable way to drive down fleet insurance costs, which is plaguing the industry?
Yeah, my answer is yes. One thing that the AVs have got going that the traditional vehicles of the past don't have is the data collection. The data collection in the autonomous space is front and center into every single platform. Okay, so the answer is yes. Every single incident is being learned from, especially on the Waymo side, and what we're seeing as far as Tesla reporting into the cloud. So yeah, I do. And I think that I also think that the data collection is going to be done in weeks and months or months instead of over many, many, many years. You're going to have so much data input that it's going to overwhelmingly make the case that these things are, yes, much safer, or no. And the way it's leaning right now is they are much, much safer. Autonomous vehicle is much, much safer than a human being driving a vehicle. That's what it looks like right now. So yeah, I do. Just purely because of the data collection.
All right, well, here's another video kind of in that same vein of a Tesla, an autopilot on the highway. And this one is from Wham Bam Tesla Cam. So let's take a look
for
at
those of you who want to continue to follow this, go onto YouTube and find.
Yeah, you got to see these videos.
And find at Wham, WHAM, BAAM Tesla Cam. Wham Bam Tesla Cam.
Is that
and
bam
they
or
want
is that
you,
boom?
Wham Bam.
I can't really tell, but if you're also going to YouTube, also go to at Ground Transportation Podcast and give us
those
a
guys.
like and subscribe.
Yeah. Forget those guys, right? We're
going to bring you the
best
free.
We'll send them a bill for that call out later. Go to ours instead.
All right. Well, we're courtesy of Wham Bam Tesla Cam. Here is this video of the Tesla autopilot on the highway.
Let's see it.
Bikram was driving with autopilot engaged on Deerfoot Trail in Canada. As traffic slowed down, autopilot slowed down as well. Unfortunately, the Chevy van behind him failed to slow down in time and hit his Tesla at full speed.
Oh.
Bikram heard a warning from autopilot before the impact. Autopilot also prevented his car from hitting the car in front of him or from leaving the lane. He says he's lucky to have a Tesla because this accident could have been much worse.
Okay, Elon, what the hell? What the hell? He had a whole empty lane next to him. Beep, beep, beep. You're gonna get hit. Move, stupid. Like, are you kidding me? It knows it's coming. It could have just moved. You saw in the rear view cam, the other car moved.
But the typical human reaction would have been to slam into the car in front of him.
Oh, hell no. If you're PAX trained, you better have moved. If I find out you're PAX trained and you're slowing down and you didn't look at the rear view and you didn't just move. Wait a minute. What you're saying is you're not confident that the Tesla is doing the 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock constantly. Well, but all right, roll.
But if you get out of the way,
can we roll this back?
Wouldn't that car behind him slam into the car that you would get out? Oh yeah, let's roll it back.
Roll it back. Play the tape. All right, look, you've got a whole empty shoulder to the left. Okay.
Well,
I don't know if there's a mute on this, but there's a whole empty left lane here. You can see it in the rear. That guy's coming. Get the hell out the way.
Okay,
like I don't cuss real often, but like in my head, all I'm hearing is Ludacris's song from when I was in high school. Move, bitch. Get out the way.
Get out the way. Get out the way. Move. Get out the way. Get out the way. Get out the way.
Like
there's no need for that kind of talk.
Says Mr. F-bomb. But
Are you,
anyways,
wait a minute. Are
like,
you saying go to the shoulder
but-
on the
but
left,
look,
or
look, you've got an empty right lane, you've got an empty
No.
left lane. Yeah,
That was an
you've got
impact.
2 empty lanes. The guy behind him. So if you watch that again in that impact, that what looks like some kind of Ford Focus or something went around the van that hit him. I'm telling you, in this one, anytime I'm slowing down, right, I'm looking rear of me and I'm looking behind me. And if I see that guy's brake lights, I'm instantly, oh crap, the guy behind me doesn't see it. Here he comes. Tesla, beep, 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 beep. You should have moved, right?
Well,
effective drivers would have tried to hit. Are you successful? I don't know. But I can tell you, he has 2 empty options left and right. Neither of them were used. He's psyched because he didn't hit the car in front of him. I'm pissed because the passenger in my back seat is now not going to make it to the airport on time because he had an accident.
well, not to mention the fact the passenger in the back seat's going to sue you for whiplash.
Yeah,
Yeah,
among other things.
But listen, to
Speaking
your
of fleet
point,
insurance.
Yeah, to your point, I think that the beep, 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 beep is not an ample warning for something.
Yeah, it might
like
as well
that.
just said, you're screwed.
No, it should have said brace, brace, brace. Your crash coming.
I feel like, that's the type of thing for me. Look, I get that not every accident is avoidable, but most unavoidable accidents are a result of putting yourself in a compromised position. And you can avoid generally putting yourself in a compromised position. And I think he was actually in good position to make a move right or make a move left. We saw a Tesla practically fishtail out because it moved out of the way earlier. It just, in this case, decided to stay straight instead of move out of the way.
And let me ask you a question. When you think of the possibilities of an accident occurring, doesn't that scenario almost always come up? Where
What?
someone breaks in front of you. Okay. My whole point is that's happened to every one of us.
Every day.
Okay.
We
So,
teach the safe zone, right? So for me, my big thing is if you ride with me on the highway, right? Especially, all of us have our modes where we're not as high alert, but if you ride with me on the highway, I typically am going to purposely ride in what I call open pockets. And so I'm going to try and find an open pocket where I have some option to move. And I don't care how angry you get. I'm going to make sure that there is space in front of me. Because if I have to stop short, I have to be able to get out of the way. I have to make sure I've got plenty of room. Having that space to maneuver is crucial. And in this case, he had it. He just didn't use it.
Good point. Okay. Now we're off to Romania.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Now, we're off to Romania, and this one is a little bit of a different question. So thank you, Ken, for giving us your thoughts on whether you think AVs could actually drive down fleet insurance costs. But I think this next question, I would love for both of you to chime in. Who is at fault in an AV crash? So what we're going to do
It's Elon's fault.
is we are going to go to Romania, and we're going to check out this video. All right, you ready?
Yep, let's go.
In Romania, a Tesla deliberately crashed into another car. A pedestrian tripped over a pothole, and within seconds,
It almost
the
still hit
Autopilot
it.
decided to crash into an oncoming Audi to avoid harming the person. As a result, no one was injured.
Okay. So let's tee that up for those
It
of
saved
you
his life. A
in this-
human driver would have struggled with that.
So those of you in the studio audience who can't see this YouTube, what happens is the white Tesla is going on by itself, and it is in the right-hand lane. But
Yep.
next to that lane, there's pedestrians.
It's like those
The-
little bollards you see in Europe.
Right.
with
The
little
road
metal
is
poles on the
separated
side
by
of the
some
road.
bollards, but there's a sidewalk there, and a pedestrian falls into the roadway, and the Tesla completely 100% avoids him by going the only place that they could, which is into the next lane,
Oncoming
the
traffic.
oncoming traffic. Okay.
Yeah.
So
And it still almost hits him because it hits that car. I've been watching this. We've got it looping for us to watch here. When it bounces back, that rear
Looks like
right
it hits
tire almost, well, I think he gets barely hit with the bumper, but that tire would have been on him.
but that
but
is
this
a
is the trolley
fantastic
problem.
save.
Yeah, but this is the trolley problem. And for those that aren't familiar with the trolley problem, you've got a trolley going down a track, okay?
Mhm.
And you've got 2 different tracks. You can throw a switch. There's a trolley coming. You have no way to stop it. You throw one switch, one person dies. You throw another switch, 3 people die. Right now, it's heading towards the 3 people. So the question becomes, if I go, oh God, I got to save those 3 people, and I throw the switch and 1 person dies, I am now a direct murderer. I murdered that person. I am personally responsible for their death. If I do nothing, 3 people die. But that wasn't really my fault. I didn't do anything. I just watched them die. So the question becomes, in the trolley problem, do you throw the switch and kill the 1 person to save 3? Or do you say, hey, I don't want to kill anybody. If they die, they die. I'm hoping to God Jesus takes the wheel and it derails the trolley and everybody's okay.
So, but I look at this differently. This is a law of probability that the Tesla looked at it and said, the probability, if I hit that human being's going to die. If I go into the next lane and hit a vehicle, chances are lower that the person
you're giving it too much credit.
Really?
I think
you're giving it way too much credit.
It made the right decision.
It made the right decision based on the sequence of events, in my opinion.
Oh, totally. But what choice did it have?
That's my point. My point is the guy falls into the street first. All right. So
well, it's his fault.
I'm going to go full programmer for a second. Yeah, it's that Chekhov's fault.
Stupid son of a bitch.
So yeah. Why are you falling into the street for? What are you doing?
Was he drinking? He can't walk on a sidewalk? What's your problem?
Romania. No, but in all seriousness,
he trips on the pothole. Trips on a pothole and gets thrown into the street.
All right, so let's bring it back for a second. Computers work on a sequence of events. Computers are typically monolithic. So in this case, it sees someone fall into the road and it takes immediate action to not hit that person. There are bollards on the right. There's an open lane on the left. Okay. If you look, there's actually 2 lanes of oncoming traffic. Arguably, if it would have seen the guy falling and not just been fully reactionary, it might have been able to, and a human driver couldn't do this, but it might have been able to calculate how to get into the far left lane and go around the green car on the far side.
I don't know if there was enough time.
But this is the same thing you see in movies where like the AI is shooting at him and the guy is dodging the bullets. When AI hits war, it's going to suck because AI doesn't miss. AI isn't like us. AI would only take the shot if it knows you're dead, right? This whole like AI stuff. So I think what we're seeing here is we're seeing a sequence of events that led to an outcome. It made the decision to go to the other lane. It then had to figure out what to do with the green car, and the clock ran out.
Yeah,
it just ran out of time.
Yeah,
I don't think it calculated that because now we have the iRobot problem. The kid has a lower chance of surviving than I do, but he's got more life ahead of him. Right? That's the whole. If you watch, and by the way, the iRobot movie with Will Smith was based on the Isaac Asimov book that develops the 3 laws of robotics.
He's taking us down a rabbit hole.
I know. This is what you get when you bring up AI. But the problem is ultimately going to become these are moral and ethical human problems, not robot problems.
A good point.
That's where it ends.
It's a good point. He made it,
and it only made the decision because of the sequence of events. We can't humanize it and say it didn't want to kill the pedestrian. It said, "Oh shit, there's something in the road. I don't want to hit it." And then it got to the other side. It was like, "Oh shit, there's a car coming," and it hit that.
I think Tesla knew that it was a human being.
And your Roomba loves you, and it's not mapping your house; it's keeping your house clean.
Well, the only way to prove my hypothesis,
my robotic cat isn't spying on me. It really loves me.
The only way to prove my hypothesis is to throw a cardboard box in front of.
I thought you were going to say a child. Thank God it was cardboard box.
No, it's if I'm looking at that Romanian video clip and
doesn't know it's a person.
If I want to prove my point, I'm duplicating that scenario and throwing a cardboard box out there, and I'm betting you that Tesla goes right over the cardboard box.
Maybe.
Well, maybe there was a human. Wait a minute, there's a human being in
come on the
cardboard
podcast.
Box.
Yeah, let's test that out.
Another call.
There's a robotic cat in the cardboard box that we're throwing in front of the robotic taxi
this is another call out.
And then we'll throw from the other side. We'll throw a real cat in a box, and we'll see which box it runs over.
We really need
PETA,
Elon.
We
need Elon on this. We need him on the podcast to settle these important questions. Okay, now we've got a robo-taxi company, Cruise.
This is a Cruise.
All right, so the question remains, who's at fault in an AV accident. So let's play this clip and then we'd love to get your reactions.
Mm-hmm.
Cruise has been under investigation since an October incident in which a woman was dragged about 20 feet by a Cruise robo-taxi in San Francisco street after another car hit the woman and sent it in front of the Cruise vehicle. That incident and the company's response prompted the DMV to revoke Cruise's permit to operate in the city. These latest departures follow the exit of Cruise's co-founders last
God
month.
rest that poor woman.
But to be clear, she got hit by another car first.
Yeah. So John, correct me if I'm wrong. This is a pretty dark story. So basically, the Cruise vehicle's driving along. This woman gets hit. It tosses her under the Cruise vehicle.
Oh.
The sensors don't notice it, right? She gets dragged. I don't know what eventually stops it, but she basically gets dragged. And the argument here is a human would have known something happened. Now, that said, we should probably also pull up the clip of the guy driving 90 down the highway with no wheel on his vehicle, dragging the front caliper on the highway, because I call BS. But the whole idea here being that a human would have known better, and that the fact that she got dragged, and like I said, this goes back to what I just said a second ago. It is a tragic series of events, and the order of operations matters. Because if I remember right, the whole deal is that because she got tossed under the vehicle, the Cruise vehicle didn't know she was down there getting dragged.
Well, a couple things, couple things. First and foremost, Cruise is out of business, and I firmly believe for reasons. When I look at the dollars that Waymo has put into AV compared to the dollars that GM put into it, I think that number one is an evolution of autonomous technology. And today, I think if the Cruise had encountered anything that had that kind of an impact, the tech is such that it would have stopped the vehicle. Would she still have died? Sure, she still would have died, because that sequence of events is tough to prevent, right? She was tossed in front of it.
But these are human problems, right? You hear stories all the time of someone that, they have and this is again very tragic, but this is what we're talking about. You hear stories all the time of someone who they get hit by a subway, or they have something massive fall on them, and there's no way to save them. Like, they're done.
Right.
They are pinched in a way that we cannot extract them and save their life. And so I think at a certain point, you have to be careful of the hype versus buzz, because there's a whole group of people ready to point the finger at AV and be like, that shit doesn't work, you're going to kill us all. While there's another group that's like, oh no, that's great, we need to do that tomorrow. And I think and again, back to the International Association of Transportation Regulators, at their conference this year, they had two guys back to back. They had the guy that basically was, hey, this is great, this is awesome, let's do it, we believe in them 100%. And then they had a professor that was, hey, you're going too fast, this is too dangerous, don't do this. And at least what came out of that for me is that, especially in the US, it's left or right, it's red or blue, it's black or white, there's no in between. And I think in our world there's a middle ground, because there's unfortunately accidents like this all the time. There's drunk drivers all the time. There's things that happen, every X amount. And this is a tragedy, but I don't, if she got hit and thrown under the wheel, it's not like the AV could have jumped and not hit her.
Well,
so to a certain extent, some of these are there. Like I said, not all events can be avoided. A lot can. Some circumstances are freak accidents too.
But if she was thrown in front of that vehicle 25 feet in front of it,
it wasn't 25 feet. Yeah.
Correct.
Agreed.
So I hate to say it, but based on that video, engineers guaranteed they looked at it and said, okay, wait a minute, now we need to put sensors on the front bumper.
Right.
And I guarantee you that senseless death caused some changes in technology. But to my way of thinking, because we've gone through a second revolution on AV. The first revolution on AV was done by vehicle companies. It was done by the automotive companies, and it was a miserable failure. And then Uber tried it, and again, they were just using basic vehicles. Waymo and ZooX started from the ground up. And Waymo and Tesla, and Waymo and Tesla.
And Apple had a
ZooX,
program they gave up on.
They gave up on it. So
They just
I
called it
think,
quits.
I think the evolution is gone, has moved forward tremendously since the Cruise. The other thing I'll say is we have, without question, a great source of data and a great source of what could happen and has happened when you look at China having 30,000 robo-taxis on the road, 23 hours a day, 1 hour for cleaning, 1 hour for a new battery.
Right.
And the sad part is, I'm just going to say it, I think China has a different way of looking at things, and there's a completely different relationship between regulatory and business. I mean, the
that's the
lines
home
are
of the
blurred.
suicide net at the factory, right? They were having people were jumping off the factories to commit suicide. So instead of fixing the working conditions, they put nets around so that when you would try to kill yourself, you didn't die. Like that, it's a different
It's
idea
a different
there.
way of thinking, and but they are way ahead on. They are way ahead on autonomous vehicles because they don't give a shit if people drop to their death. No, I'm only kidding.
But you've brought up a fundamental business problem, right? So I recently listened to a podcast on Dieselgate. So Dieselgate, basically Volkswagen had this idea that they were going to create clean diesel vehicles. And the CEO comes down and he says, we're doing this. It's happening. It's going to work. It's going to be there. The engineers couldn't make it happen. They couldn't make it happen. But the mandate was, I don't care what you're doing, you get it done. So what did they do? They cheated.
They punched the numbers.
So what they did is they used what's called a defeat device. So when you were testing the vehicle, it would notice that the steering wheel wasn't moving. It would notice all of these inputs, and it would go into like a limp mode. And in that limp mode, it would give out certain numbers. And the only reason they got caught is some college kids got a grant to drive vehicles and test them. And they had like this jerry-rigged cardboard box testing, and they couldn't get the Volkswagen to do it. And they didn't believe it. Like, they'd marketed so hard. They'd sold it so well. The kids are like, we screwed up. Like, we got something wrong. And the kids kept testing again and again and again. And they couldn't get it to actually do it in the real world. And eventually it turned into a giant issue. But I think the other side of this, and it kind of goes to what you're saying about with China, is to a certain extent, I think you have to be aware that there are times that business wants results that will be good for business, even if they're not feasible with the current technology, right? I think that's, for me, what's scary about this is, and we've seen the same thing, believe it or not, in nuclear power and the nuclear regulatory industry. And that's why you have, a lot of these nuclear meltdowns. If you ever watch the Chernobyl series on HBO Max, it's great, but it will scar you because it was literally the Soviet Union decided, hey, we're going to test this thing and we're going to run the test, and we don't really care about safety or anything like that. The test has got to be done. And oh, by the way, we didn't tell anybody about the flaw in the reactor because that would make us look bad. You get, incidents like 3 Mile Island. They start looking at 3 Mile Island's maintenance record and it's crap. This is not nuclear power, but this is something that, I hear all the time. What if it gets hacked? What if it fails? What if it gets struck by lightning? I mean, these are all things that, like I said earlier, I support the technology, but to a certain extent, you've got to do a safe and effective rollout, and you have to transition into something. You can't just say, hey, I don't feel like driving anymore. And instead of driving 3 hours, I want to be able to work on my laptop. So I'm going to adopt it tonight.
Well, and we had the CEO of Obi on, who talked about the fact that the CEO of Obi is a rideshare aggregator. Think about, booking.com for the rideshare companies. You can find the best prices on Obi. And one of the statistics she gave was when they did a survey of, I think it was 10,000 rideshare customers, 78% of them said, yeah, they would prefer an autonomous, or they would absolutely, as long as the safety was there, they want an autonomous vehicle. So we're in an exciting inflection point where they've worked in Phoenix, they're working in Austin. We'll see how they're going to go in more congested cities and cities that have older infrastructures and perhaps, they're not all flat. They don't have the best weather. So I think it's going to be critically important to, more than ever before, the answer is data. The answer is safety data. One of the things that I really like about the AV evolution is every single one of these vehicles is a force multiplier for law enforcement because they have cameras on them. So to me,
I think that only makes sense until you get someone like Apple that's like, nah, we're not giving it to you.
okay, but wait a minute. But in the city of Miami, they have an autonomous vehicle, autonomous police car that is going around, and one person can monitor 6 of those police cars. So,
Agreed.
And at some point, AI is going to be looking at this data and saying, wait a minute, this all looks good, except the guy running down the street with the gun in his hand.
Well, but the problem is now you start getting into the question they have in England, right? And so you look at England and they have more CCTVs than anywhere on the planet.
Yes. The city of London has more.
Right.
Yep.
They were testing technology at one point that literally listened to tone and voice inflection. And anybody that sounded aggressive or raised their voice, it would flag. At what point, right? And this is me swinging the pendulum as hard as I can. At what point does this become Minority Report and I'm in trouble for something I haven't done yet?
Well, and what if you're inside the AV vehicle and then it's listening to you? There's no question. I mean, I never thought I would live to see the day that we had robots and AI and the AV units, even as much adoption as there is now, even though
I'm still waiting on the
in
Terminator. I expect to see the Terminator in my lifetime. And I don't mean that. I mean that in a serious sense, right? I genuinely, we are already seeing drone strikes, right?
Yes.
At what point now we're seeing it with Ukraine, you are seeing autonomous drone strikes. They program the target, they turn it loose. It determines what the target is and isn't. And if it doesn't have the target it wants, it picks a secondary one. And so we're literally, it's not the Terminator in the sense of Skynet, but I genuinely believe that in my lifetime, we will see that. And all they had to do right now, we could have the Terminator tomorrow. Elon's got his humanoid robot. Give him an AR-15, right? And all of a sudden, he's the Terminator. He's just
John, we really do miss him when he's not here, but he's taken us quite far afield today. All I want to do is see autonomous vehicles in New York City. He wants to see RoboCop out there with an AR.
Whoa. I didn't say anything about putting a human brain in there, okay? Now,
Well, listen, we've given our audience something to think about as usual. This is the Ground Transportation Podcast. We're going to have more episodes with John, our producer, showing us videos. Please subscribe to the Ground Transportation Podcast. Go on YouTube so you can see all of the shenanigans that have gone on in video as well. And
give us a like, give us a subscribe. Let us know.
Absolutely.
You care.
And we've got some exciting stuff coming up in the future. So thanks again for joining us today and have a great weekend.
Thank you for listening to the Ground Transportation Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please remember to subscribe to the show on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. For more information about PAX training and to contact James, go to paxtraining.com. And for more information about driving transactions and to contact Ken, go to drivingtransactions.com. We'll see you next time on the Ground Transportation Podcast.